Solo mining is the embodiment of the original dream, a defiant act of individual sovereignty where one person, one node, and one miner take a stand against centralized control. We don't just mine for profit, we mine for principle. We mine for ourselves and for each other and for the unyielding spirit at Bitcoin's core. Join us as we dig in and hold the line. This is the Home Mining Podcast. Hey everyone, 2Sats here, and before we start this episode, I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, Bitcoin Well, the best place in the US and Canada to stack sats today. Bitcoin Well offers a fully non-custodial way to buy your Bitcoin and have it sent straight to your Lightning wallet, your on-chain wallet, and even right to cold storage. No middlemen, no crazy fees, just cold hard sats sent right to your wallet. Join Bitcoin Well by scanning the QR code on the screen or with the link in the description to start stacking sats today. Also, when you use our link to join, you'll receive points and have a shot at winning up to 1 million sats from the Bitcoin Wishing Well. Or, alternatively, you might want to use those points toward the new BitX Gamma from the one and only Solo Satoshi. Also, during the episode, keep your Lightning wallets ready because Bitcoin Well has given us free sats to give away during all of the episodes of the podcast. All you have to do is watch and be the first person to scan the QR code that shows up during the show to win. If you are the lucky winner, drop us a comment and let us know. And for more chances, sign up to the Bitcoin Well and support the podcast with the link in the description. Now, let's get into the episode. Hello and welcome back to the Home Mining Podcast by Solo Satoshi. I'm your host, 2Sats, and today I'm graced with the presence of the one and only Toine from 256 Heat for our second episode together. Had to have him back on. If you don't know who this guy is, he's the heat punk master and you must be living in an igloo. Toine, welcome back to the show.
Andy, thanks for having me, man. Nice to chat with you.
It is always a pleasure talking with you about all sorts of things, man, and I'm glad to have you back to talk about what you've been doing, what you've been building, because you have been building a shit ton of things since the last time I had you on. And so, people really loved the first episode, and you've increased your productivity and your experimentation since then. So I think it's a perfect time to have you hop on and share what you've got your hands on lately.
Yeah. My focus in the last few months has been the low-key stuff. So for those who are not familiar, it's converting your standard, 240 or 220 volt Bitcoin miner to something that plugs into any household wall outlet. So it's a NEMA 5 or the NEMA 15 NEMA 15 standard plug outlet. That's like in North America, it's either 110 or 120 volt. And originally I thought they were a little Mickey Mouse, but the more I started playing with them, the more I'm like, okay, I get it. This is like a tool for decentralization because the power here is like eliminating barriers to entry. So eliminating the need for expensive electrical infrastructure, eliminating the need for all the space, the airflow, this noise, like it all just kind of works out to like allow you to do like these mass deployments. Like it's almost like the idea of like a drone swarm versus an F-16 or whatever the latest jets are. By decentralizing and making things more accessible, smaller, lighter, quieter, easier to plug in, easier for the basic user. And I guess, Solo Satoshi, this is like straight in the ethos of the whole BitX movement. But this is like 30 or 40 BitXs. But also you're not exceeding your standard 15 amps you're way under that. I think the max I run is 1400 watts, and at 15 amps, you're around 1800 watts. So I'm cognizant of the limitations for the wiring, but again, to get more back to the point, eliminating barriers, making it easy for the non-Bitcoiner or even Bitcoin curious or even just Bitcoiners who have never mined before. It's a very simple, easy product to just plug in and start earning. And as we were chatting about before the pod, it's if you need the heat, you're really making those sats for free. And these devices are awesome. They're basically a space heater. Your standard like 1,500, 1,400 watt space heater, except this one pays you. And here in Ontario, it's like $140 a month pays you on like a $120 a month electrical bill. So you're literally getting paid to heat. And if you're not forced to sell those sats because you're replacing an existing expense, then it's like, okay, find a place where this doesn't make sense. Like maybe when the electricity rate's really high, but there's so many applications. I was originally thinking of like small condos, apartments, rental units where the heat is included in the rent. So you can basically print money on your landlord's dollar, or in the other cases, the landlord can install these in rental homes. I just finished one 2 weeks ago where the end user doesn't feel the impact or even know that their heat that's coming out of those vents is from Bitcoin miners. They just pay that same bill every month, and then the landlord is double dipping. They're making rent and they're earning sats on their tenant's heating bill. So there's all these tricky little things that are just like, oh yeah, like these multiple light bulbs going off. So yeah, I'm pumped to chat about this stuff with you today.
Wow, that's an amazing use case right there. I can't think of many better, but they just keep popping up. I remember talking with Kate Peterson, Softworm LLC, and he was talking about like, and it might not be the same in your jurisdiction in Canada and different parts of the US, but where he's at, you can actually kind of have a loophole in the tax system by having the miners be part of like a company, like an expense. And so like they're paying themselves off at the same time as you're getting, the sats too. So that's amazing. And then installing them, as you said, as a landlord, and the tenant's none the wiser. So what's an expense for you, really, it just becomes an asset and not as much of an expense. So that's an incredible life hack for landlords. I mean, I can imagine one that's running multiple units, whether it's a duplex, triplex, or even condos, apartment buildings. If you could make the whole heating system run off Bitcoin miners, you're turning that thing into a cash flow generating beast.
Yeah, it's huge. And if they're already on electric heat, or if they have variable pricing like we do in Ontario, you can let the natural gas furnace heat the whole home as it did before I installed the system during expensive electricity times. And then when electricity is cheap, which happens to coincide with the coldest temperatures overnight, then you pump the Bitcoin miners. So there are ways to do it where it's imperceptible to the end user, and the end user meaning the person who's benefiting from the heat. I definitely look at heat first. I prioritize heat, and once I did that, then it looks like the sats are just kind of bonus. And we were talking again about how to right size the hardware, like which miner do you choose for which electrical rate, and how do you, and you got to look at uptime and all this. And yeah, there's some things we can go into later there, but I find all that stuff very interesting because it really changes like ROI and all this stuff.
All right, home miners, quick interruption to the episode because Bitcoin Well has given us some sats to give away to you. So have your Lightning wallets primed and ready, because the first person to scan the QR code is going to win some cold, hard sats. Here we go. We're going to toss a coin into the Bitcoin wishing well, redeem our 500 points. And you're going to win 658 sats if you are the first person to scan this QR code with your Lightning wallet. If you were the winner, drop us a comment wherever you're listening to the pod. And if you weren't the winner, be sure to sign up on Bitcoin Well using our QR code or our link in the description and have your shot at winning up to 1 million sats, bonus spins, and amazing prizes like a BitAxe Gamma from Solo Satoshi. All right, back to the episode, and we'll see you a bit later on for a second giveaway. So when you have like an install for a landlord, you said you just did one. Can you maybe just walk us through that? I want to go back to the Loki board after this, but
sure.
While we're on, the recent installation that you did, what's that looking like? Was that for like a multi-unit apartment complex? And when they have this install, you said that the tenant doesn't even know it's happening. So that must mean that it's quiet enough that they're not even noticing that Bitcoin miners are running, and that's what's supplying their heat. So where is the miner set up in relation to like the tenant's living space, and yeah, how quiet is it in a setup like that?
Yeah, I'll just kind of describe it first. So the idea is the hardware. There's two pieces of hardware. There's a 120 volt unit, a low key unit, and then there's a full 240 volt unit. The low key unit maxes out at 50 terahash, 1400 watts, and the 240 volt unit maxes out at 108 terahash at 2900 watts. Well, I can max it out beyond that, but that's just like the most efficient that it gets. The 240 volt unit is ducting straight into the furnace. So that supplies air or heat to the upper unit, the main floor. And then the 120 volt unit, the low key, supplies heat to the basement, which is only about 700 square feet, which is an appropriate square footage for one of these 1400 watt units. And actually, I just found the post. I did a post on it. I've documented it. Do you mind if I share my screen just so you guys can see?
Please do.
Yeah, okay. So here is how that looks. Let me see if I can. Okay, so I guess we don't really need volume, but it's a little laggy. I guess when you're streaming a stream, it's a little tougher, but so here's the unit, and then it's just connecting with some flex duct to your typical 4-inch by 10-inch boot, which goes through your standard wall vent. And this door over here is locked by the landlord because it's it's utility room, so they keep the tenants out of the utility room, and when it's cold the heat goes on, and when it gets to their desired temperature the heat goes off. That's the 120. This is the 240 volt. Oh, why is it not full screen? Here's the 240 volt unit. These, a little more sophisticated, they use my 256 heat Wi-Fi PDU switch, which allows you to use these little Wi-Fi pucks as temperature sensors to probe different areas in the house, and you can create if-then statements, like if this sensor and that sensor is over 23 degrees Celsius, cut the power to the miner. And then you can see here, it's kind of hard to tell because I have to really wind it through around a hot water tank and then through some very tight studs, but it's going straight into the return plenum here. So the filter for the units here, the air is going down and then distributing through the top two floors. So that's how that works. Client's super happy. He just contacted me yesterday about getting another unit. He's got a bunch of rentals. One of them is being built right now in Mississauga. So it looks like, once these use cases prove themselves, it becomes a no-brainer to scale, because if it makes sense at one unit, it really makes sense at 4, and it really, really makes sense at 10. So it's been cool to see that.
He really got on board quick once he saw how great that was in the first unit. Now he's like, okay, turn around quick and call you because he wants more. That's epic.
Yeah, the guy's pretty visionary. I don't get many requests to do installations in August, but
right,
he's the kind of guy that repairs the roof when the sun's shining. So great client, and he sees it working. So that's really cool. And this has happened a bunch of times. I'll either start with the garage and the client goes, you know what, I want to do the whole house, or I'll start with the house. The client goes, I got a workshop, but it's kind of cold, so let's do one there. So that's really cool to see. And the systems are intuitive. If you can operate a basic smart home type of system, you got this. I do the setups. I even do, for a lot of clients, I'll do the setups in house here, so that when I'm doing my testing and whatever, all the Bitcoin that's being mined is going to their account. So when they plug it in at their house, they don't have to change anything. It's already set up to their wallet. The pool's set up. The backup pools are set up. They just have to connect to their Wi-Fi with the range extender, and off they go. They're making heat and sats.
Oh man, beautiful. In that video, you said something about a sensor pucks.
Yeah.
So I've never seen those, and I'm sure a lot of people that are watching this right now have no clue what that is, or how it works. Is it basically So the if then statements, amazing. Is it because those sensors are placed around the tenant's house, and then when the temperature reaches certain thresholds, then that signals to the miner, or is this only on the miner, like in the room where the miner is?
Both. So there's about a couple dual redundancies here. The first temperature that's being observed is the ambient temperature for the room that you're heating, and that's dictating at what wattage to run the miner. Now, if the miner has been running and it's all the way down clock to its lowest setting, which depends on the miner, but usually it's around 1500 watts on a full 240 volt system, then what happens is the pucks, which are, they're magnetic. You can stick them upstairs, downstairs. I always stick one on the chassis of the miner so that if anything starts to overheat at the miner, at the unit, you'll cut power. So that's like a safety kind of redundancy feature. And then
Quick kill switch.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So I'll put it right over the PSU. So if anything starts to arc or heat up, or if another system that's supposed to be downclocking or supposed to be cutting the power fails and it starts to heat up over the temperature, it's like a secondary or tertiary kind of safety feature. The other units, these pucks can go like basically where your main furnace or thermostat, like your main like Nest or whatever thermostat is, and that's just going to be another way to cut power to the miner if it's already downclocked to its lowest possible wattage and it's still too hot. So those are those if and statements, and they just a couple specs on them. They're made by Sonoff. They have these little like watch batteries in them. They're good for 4 years. So they use very, very little electricity, little energy, and they take about a minute to set up. So easy to use, small, light, cheap, low maintenance, and the magnet's nice because they can magnet onto the chassis of the miner. You can magnet them onto the fridge. Lots of things
And
from metal.
huge utility out of something that's not very expensive, right?
Yep. And then, like I said, you can combine them so they coordinate. So, like, let's say you wanted to have like an off-grid thing where you're not there often. You can have a temperature sensor and a motion sensor coordinate so that if this temperature is, or if the motion sensor is not present and the temperature is below, so you can basically set it so that if there's someone present, you can run it at your standard living room desired temperature. Let's call it 21, 22 degrees Celsius. But if there's no one there, it assumes you're gone, and then it'll just run at 15 or 10. It'll just keep it. So you can do all these really clever things with these if-and statements and the array of sensors available: door, open, close sensors, motion sensors, temperature sensors, moisture sensors, all this stuff. So it's too humid. You could use it just for dehumidification, like for dehydrating meat or something like that. So you could have it stop at a certain humidity so you know the meat's ready. Or, there's all these things you could do. So it's been fun playing with those.
Man, I've talked to a lot of heat punks on this podcast, and I've never heard any of them get that deep with it, and that creative with it. So, not that they're not, but you just have so many like real world use cases with those experiments that you're running over there. Really, hats off to you, man. You're a visionary, and it's really cool to see your passion kind of coming through in all these different use cases and these different pieces of technology to make it like it's almost fully autonomous at that point, right? Once it's installed, it's just running, and there's so many things that you can do to customize it, which you wouldn't think. I think a lot of people just kind of coming into the heat punk movement or something, they look at like, oh, it's just this stationary space heater. You put it into the ducting and then that's it. But you've got these sensors, you've got your custom unit, which I would love if you talked about. I'm not sure if we talked too much in depth on the first episode about your custom unit that you've built out, the Wi-Fi the PDU.
Yeah. So the Wi-Fi PDU switch basically turns any standard PDU, which most PDUs are an L630, those 3-pronged twist lock outlets. It'll turn any PDU that uses that outlet into a smart PDU. I thought I saw an opportunity here because I was looking at these like smarts. They're called switchable PDUs where you can access them remotely and control power to each individual outlet from anywhere in the world. and they like started at like $1,200. I bought one to kind of like see if I could reverse engineer or whatever. And what's cool is that like I didn't want to do a PDU, a smart PDU. I wanted to, because I saw if you're already mining, you already have a PDU, so you don't need to duplicate efforts there. So I wanted something that you could put between the wall and the PDU to make it a smart PDU. And then I realized, okay, this is so much better than a smart PDU. Smart PDUs don't have the ability to integrate Wi-Fi components like the temperature sensors and motion sensors. They're just kind of like, they're smart, but they're kind of dumb compared to like the Wi-Fi PDU switch, because it's got so much more than, scheduling or, just doing a hard restart when you need a refresh and you're not on site. So, that I did it kind of out of necessity. I have a mining site that's like 3 hours north of me. So it's not easy to get to if a machine needs a reboot or if you need to turn something off because of temperatures or whatever it is. So I built the system for myself. And then once I did it, I was like, oh man, I bet you there's so many people who could benefit from this exact system. So I went through the process of having it CSA approved. I did that for a while. And then I realized that it increased the cost quite a bit. And most of my clients are in the US, which CSA is just a Canadian body. I'd have to get UL certification, which is to get both is it's going to increase the cost of the product to a point where I'm not comfortable with it. So it's very similar. There's a product called Migro or something, MIGROW, and it's made for like pool heaters, but it doesn't have the L630 outlets. It doesn't have the ability to, or it doesn't come with any peripheral sensors. So I kind of like created my own with what I wanted to see, made it specific to the L630 plug, which is what all the mining PDUs use. I can create whatever outlet you want if you're running on, a 550 or NEMA L620, whatever you're using, I can make one for you. But I just took what like the most common plug and I built for that.
Amazing, man. Yeah, that's fantastic. I love that you have your own sort of proprietary tech as well that you put into these builds. Now, is that only necessary with like the 240 volt systems or?
Yes. So the 120 volt systems, these things already kind of exist. So I was looking for one for 240 volts, and the best thing I could find was like a $1,200 like switchable PDU. I thought that was a bit pricey, so that's why I built my own kind of device that interfaces with the PDU to make it a smart switchable PDU with even more functionality. But for the 110, 120 volt stuff, the low key stuff, there are products out there that exist that do what the 240 volt switch, Wi-Fi PDU switch does. So I didn't need to reinvent the wheel there. I can just, pull something off the shelf. Whenever you can pull something off the shelf, it's great. Because I'm pragmatic. I'm looking at an end goal. And the end goal here is to get paid to eat your house. So yes. I'm not trying to hide behind something proprietary. Almost everything in my systems is off the shelf, and that's on purpose. If something breaks, you don't need to reach out to me. You can go take the part, unscrew it from the board, look at the part number, go on Amazon. It's either the same day or the next day it's at your house. And so no downtime, no getting cold at night, whatever. That's on purpose. Kind of follows the open source mantra, but
yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah.
Yeah. But, that most of my, I guess, value that I impart is through the consulting.
Sure.
A lot of clients aren't Bitcoiners. Most are, but some of them aren't. And that knowledge of like how to get the wallet, how to run it properly, how to run your own node, how to run a Lightning node, how to receive your payouts through Lightning. I love what Ocean's doing, and their threshold's a little high for on-chain, which makes sense because you don't want to be, spending $20 on it or $5 on $100 transaction. Even that's, I'm not comfortable with that. If you do it for hundreds of times, you're like, oh, I just spent all my money on transaction fees. So their Bull 12 payments are amazing. And I've done tutorials on it for free, but any client that wants to get set up, that's my go-to. And you can see it in their eyes. Like when you set up the payments and they receive their Lightning Bitcoin after every block, that ocean hits, it's powerful, man. It's like going from Coinbase to self custody. It's on that magnitude of like, oh my God, this is different. I hate the saying it hits different, but it really hits different, man. And it is nice.
What wallet are you using to set up those Bolt 12 payments? Because I know there's not very many of them. Are you using like Phoenix?
No. So I always recommend Coinos. If you don't run a node. If you do run a node, that's the best way because it's fully non-custodial. But Coinos or coinos.io, that is a really cool tool for Bolt 12 or for any kind of Bitcoin payment. They convert everything behind the scenes. So, and it's no KYC and there's no fees, there's no advertising. It's just like the best. And
Wow.
what's cool about it is you can set a threshold. So let's say you're not running a Lightning routing node or CLN, but you still want to collect your sats via Lightning Bolt 12. What I do is I have clients open up a Coinos like a account. It takes about literally 2 seconds. I don't even think you need to put an email. Maybe you do. Anyway, the one of the features in Coinos is an auto withdrawal. So even though it's custodial, you can set it up so that as soon as the sats hit your wallet, they can auto withdraw to Aqua or Phoenix or anything that takes any kind, like on-chain, Liquid, Lightning, Bolt 11, Bolt 12, eCash. Like it's whatever
Wow.
you want to send it to. So it becomes this like hub where it's routing payments to your self-custodied wallets, but it's just kind of like a stopgap if you're not running CLN or you don't have a self-custody Lightning routing node.
God damn, that is sweet. That is really
Yes,
cool. I've
I
heard of
love it.
it, but I have not actually like gone to the service and checked it out. So now I definitely will be.
Highly
Um,
recommend. It's
yeah,
got tip
that's so
settings, so if
cool.
you run a business, you can input tips. I just love the features. It's fast. It always works. Like huge
Well,
fan of them.
it's solving all the heavy lifting, right? Because it's one thing to get people to install a Bitcoin miner for heat reuse, and then it's another thing to say, well, now you need a node, and now you've got to learn how to run a Lightning channel and manage your Lightning channel. Like, good luck if you're not a Bitcoiner, it's not
Yeah.
happening, right?
Or you
And
can
even
wait
if you
6 months
are,
for the on-chain payment. No thanks.
exactly, yeah. So having that like instantaneous auto sweeping of the funds and sent right to your wallet, and you don't really need to understand very much at all. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
massive friction removal
Yep.
tool right there. Very exciting. So with all these systems that you're installing, this can all be managed and run from your phone if you need to like overclock, underclock, or clock.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the phone will have a couple apps on it, and those apps allow you to do all of that. Curtail like power to the miner, increase wattage, decrease wattage, monitor hash rate, and monitor income. So you can look at all the way from energy, your electricity input, all the way to heat and Bitcoin output. Uh,
Wow.
just so you can be on the beach in Mexico and hey, how's my house in Ontario doing? How warm is it inside? What's the hash rate? How much am I making on it today? Like it's all there at your fingers. It's really cool.
It's basically like decentralized open source, like Google Smart Home or whatever those things are, which, we don't like to touch. But it's like, yeah, it's that smart home kind of idea where like everything is managed by an app and you can like turn on the lights, turn off the lights, but
Exactly.
with a miner and you're paying yourself and you're heating your home. And I think that's killer that it's all so simple that it's like in the palm of your hand.
Yep. Yeah, that was the whole thing. It was make it easy, eliminate barriers, do it so that, it's enticing to Bitcoiners and not Bitcoiners alike.
Incredible.
Mhm.
Okay, we're gonna jump into your other builds and things that you've gotten your hands on lately.
Sure.
Let's first circle back to the Loki board as we do that. You mentioned at the start, brother, that that seems to have eliminated like so many like little bottlenecks and hurdles and stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of people listening, they've probably played with a Loki rig. They have one on their system, but just in general, like what are the things that it does that basically unlocked a whole bunch of new potential for you and your builds?
Okay. The first one's probably cost. So it costs quite a bit less, a third less than your typical 240 volt single full scale miner. So that's cool. The other thing is noise. I just did a test the other day. I was running between 45 and 47 decibels. So this is like background noise. You really don't notice it. So I'm installing them in the living space. I think they look cool. I don't mind the aesthetic. Uh, and because of that, now, you might have one 240 volt outlet in the house, whereas you have 60, 100 of these little, typical three prong 120 or 110 volt outlets. So the ability to place the heat where it needs to go becomes a lot easier. Weight, you can pick it up. It's 28 inches wide. Pick it up with two hands and put it here, put it there, put it on the shelf. Vertical, sideways, however you want to mount it. It's up to you. You can change it every day like your underwear. Like, it doesn't matter. Actually, I'll just pull up might as well start speaking to imagery because that's probably more powerful.
Sure.
So I'm just going to share my screen and show. This is one I installed at my place just the other day. These elbows, adjustable elbows, swivel you can make them straight or 90 degrees. So you can direct the heat, which is really cool because then you can find which direction you point it in allows the heat to. So there's a sensor right here at the intake. So it allows you to figure out where do you put it so it takes the longest route back to the intake, so that by the time the temperature at the intake is warm or approaching your desired ambient temp, the rest of the houses or the rest of the room or the rest of the area that this miner services is also that temperature. So there's some nice stuff there. This is at the cabin. Same type of system. Didn't paint this one. I do like the black paint, but same idea. And just this morning, I've done this before, but I keep trying different things, reversing the flow, change the direction, putting the fan on the top, all these different things. And yeah, I'm really set on this configuration. I really find the benefits huge. I mean, these miners run at like 32 and a half or 33 watts per terahash by default. And I'm getting between 27 and 28. So like 27 and a half to 28 and a half watts per terahash. So they're way more efficient. They're extremely quiet. So most of the duty cycle is run on a lower fan speed just because of these things will downclock as they heat up. So here's one's running at 44, 45 decibels while I'm right beside it. So this is beside a TV. Maybe you can see it in one of these images. Maybe you can't, but yeah, you can just see the map for the TV here. It's right beside the TV. Fine. Absolutely great. Happy.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, these are awesome, man. And the fact that you can operate them from anywhere in the world, you can monitor the situation, you can audit how much income you're making. As soon as the block is hit on the pool, it's immediately paid out to you, so you're not relying on a custodian.
Are there any fire risks? Like, you're leaving this like in a cabin and you're not there to monitor it. Is there any risk of like electrical fires or anything like that? Hope everybody is having a great time listening to this episode that's packed full of knowledge and practical tips from Toine of 256 Heat. Just wanted to jump in and bless you with a few more sats in the middle of the episode here before we get into a lot more detail and pictures with Toine about all of his builds. So we're going to toss a coin into the wishing well, redeem our 500 points. Have your Lightning wallet ready. If you're the first person to scan, you are going to win 436 sats. It's not a lot, but it's something, and it's yours if you were the first person to scan the QR code. Thank you so much to our sponsors, Bitcoin Well, and be sure to click the link in the description to sign up. And if you're in the US or Canada, it's the best way to stack sats in a fully non-custodial way. QR code will be on the screen, link will be in the description, and we appreciate you supporting the podcast. All right, with that said, back to the episode with Toine of 256 Heat.
So there's always a risk. Whenever you run a space heater or whenever you plug anything into a wall, there's a risk. Um,
Sure.
there are certain things you can do to mitigate those risks, like make sure you're under 75% of the uh, total like wattage for the circuit. So that's an important one. The other one is these things downclock automatically, I'm going to say, because they uh, running high wattage for long periods of time, that's when you run into risks. So one of the ways I mitigate that risk is to just instead of bang on bang off where you have very short duty cycles, especially in the spring and fall, these things will downclock, which A, reduces that risk, B, increases your uptime, and C, decreases the noise, right? If you're running on a fan speed 3 with 800 watts versus a fan speed of 5 with like 1400 watts, you know, less noise, less wattage, less risk. Um, it's just like the benefits compound. So in this example here, this unit was designed to go in an unfinished basement. It fits in between the floor joists and then just mates up to one of the what's it called? The boots, the vent boots for the floor above. So, if you've got a house with an unfinished basement and you see the HVAC ducting running, you can literally just unhook that duct, hook it up to this. It's all the same 6-inch in, right? So, and if it's not, there's any number of conversions from 8 to 6, square to round, doesn't matter. It exists. I mean, sheet metal is, you can do an online search. I've gotten lost for weeks in like custom sheet metal Y pipes with 2 6-inch going in and a 12-inch coming out. And one of my clients called it the medieval pants because it looked like a knight's pair of pants, like a medieval metal pair of pants. So
You can really build a custom setup for any sort of home situation.
exactly. And again, that's where my value is. It's the product is cool and a lot of work and R&D went into them, but understanding clients' needs, your needs, how much heat do you need, where does it live, how sensitive to noise are you, do you want it filtered, not filtered, is there a benefit with a particular situation, is going in a workshop where it's dusty, all these things impact the end product. And in most cases, there's a component that satisfies the need or allows me to modify these to satisfy a specific need for a client. So, yeah, I love that about these
The
120
pic
volt
just
systems.
above. Can you go to the pic just above where you're at here?
This one here?
Yeah. So okay. So something like this. Is this just mounted onto a board, which is mounted onto a wall?
Yeah, that's right. So this one still has the kind of the longer form factor. The most recent ones, I've cut down that mounting board so that it's the minimum size, which is kind of cool because it allows me to kind of IKEA style disassemble these things, shove it all in one medium sized box. And then when it arrives on site, client has to just use a screwdriver, turn 4 or 5 different screws to reassemble it, I guess, and then they mount it on the wall. Because I have studs framing the fireplace here, I just put one in the top right corner and one in the bottom left. I mean, this thing weighs less than 36 pounds, and each screw into wood is good for over 50. So I only needed to put 2 small holes in my wall for this thing to get mounted. And then down here, I have the cable plugging into a temperature sensor, which allows me to schedule, set my max temperatures. It monitors wattage, so you can see exactly, you can input your cost per kilowatt hour, and then you can monitor exactly how much the electricity for the miner is costing you on a monthly, daily, yearly basis. Compare that with your earnings, your income, to see if you're making, well, you're always going to be making money if you're heating, but to see if you're profitable on your energy expenditure or not. I mean, this is one of those things where it's just like, I don't even know if I want to make 240 volt systems anymore. I mean, if you have a 5,000 square foot house, that's the right way to go. And ducting it into the furnace, again, that's the right way to go. But lots of homes are electric baseboard heated. They don't have the HVAC infrastructure, or it's like an auxiliary space, a garage, a greenhouse, a grow operation. Like a workshop is like a huge use case because, big bay doors, Usually they're overhead propane heaters. As soon as the bay door is open in the winter, whoosh, there goes $10 worth of propane out the window. Whereas this, it'll spool up. You'll make even more Bitcoin the colder it is. So yeah, like if Bitcoin's pumping, I'll tell my kids open a window. I want it to run.
You'll never hear that in like a traditional setting, right? A traditional home. Like
my grandparents be spinning their graves, man. I'm like, open the window in the winter? You crazy? But turns the paradigm on its head. It's
tell you to shut the windows and put an extra sweater on back then.
Yeah, they're like, you heat the neighborhood. I'm like, yeah, that's my goal.
Oh man, so that's really like why I wanted you to look at these and just kind of go over like how it's mounted and everything is because it strikes me as very like non-invasive. Like you could go and put that in, install it, and then if you moved or your landlord had a problem with it or whatever the case may be, you're not having to tear apart the house or the HVAC system at all. Yeah. Like with what I'm seeing here, right? It's literally just pop 2 screws out and you're off the wall.
That's right. And it enables like guerrilla mining. You can mine. I mined in a minivan using my phone's Wi-Fi hotspot, and they had 120 volt like, regular wall outlet. So I'm like shooting it out the window going down the highway. Hilarious. Hilarious stuff. Like you can do the silliest shit if you want to. The other thing so it's not installed yet, but the client has his components. I'm doing a spaghetti dryer. So he's got a spaghetti factory and gnocchi factory in Vancouver. And he's always used electric resistive heating on large trays, large like drying racks for his product. And now he's going to use hash rate heating instead of electric resistive heating. So his input costs will be the same, except especially in Vancouver, he's going to make more than for every dollar spent, he's going to make like $1.05 back in Bitcoin from using one of these. So again, like I love different use cases, but the ones that are the sweetest for me are where you're using low-grade heat as an input to a manufacturing process that, again, has so you're using a profit margin into a product that provides another profit margin. So like greenhouses, things like this. Oh man, that gets me so excited. If you have a greenhouse, please reach out. I'd love to get you, paid twice, right? Paid for your product and then paid for the heat. So makes sense.
Oh man, amazing. Yeah, I never thought I'd find myself giving a shit about HVAC stuff, and
it's pretty dry unless you're using Bitcoin. Yeah, it's pretty dry.
Yeah, exactly. Like like unless you're like into that kind of stuff as a career path, like it's just not very interesting subject matter. But once you introduce Bitcoin into it and see, like this is actually just downright fascinating. And see how you customize it all to make these different use cases actually profitable and make them work. This is really exciting stuff.
The word customization really can't be stressed enough here, right? Because you see the fan speeds, you see the wattages, see the terahash output, see the efficiency, voltage, megahertz. These things are less important to the average user. But, if you want to dial it in, if you need a certain BTU output, whether constant, variable, whatever it is, you can program that behavior to these things. So you're really not limited other than the gauge of the wire in your walls. And again, that's easy to overcome just by putting more of them. Like I have a 3-floor townhouse. I can put 1 per floor and that would be more than enough heat for the entire house for the whole year. So, if you need something smaller, there are like the standard, I still build like the standard low keys with the stock fans. And these are still about 50 decibels, so extremely quiet. So like crawl spaces, things where it doesn't have to be, where you're not in the room with the unit, you're not having to listen to that small 120 millimeter fan whine at, 20,000 hertz or something. You don't have to do that. So, yeah, man, just kind of going back.
If you have a home and you have even a decent power rate, like you'd be foolish not to be running at least one unit like this.
I think so. And that doesn't even consider capital appreciation. Like,
right.
You can easily, in 2 winters, you can easily mine over half a Bitcoin. At least this is just from current customer experiences. With a dual unit setup, some of these customers have mined over half a Bitcoin in 2 years. And
wow.
Yeah, it's like you worked a second job for those 2 years. it doesn't seem like that at the time at installation. But if you're doing a 5x every 4 or 5 years, or 10x every 6, 7 years, man, that, $7,000 that you used, $7,000 that you mined heating your home 2 winters ago is now worth quite a bit more. I can buy a new car. So there's all these like surprising outcomes where it just makes me even more bullish on these devices. I was very, whenever I do an economic calculation for a client, I never include capital appreciation because it's not guaranteed. I can just tell you what it's going to look like today. And, most people will overpromise, underdeliver. You've seen the whole breaking, announcements on Twitter. That's a bad thing, I think, for the whole industry. So I think underpromising and letting these things just over-deliver over time, the longer you run them, the more they deliver and the better the outcome is. So yeah, and clients are seeing that and they're coming back for more units. So it's really it's a really cool thing to see.
I remember thinking early on in my Bitcoin journey about what, like, when you get to a certain point if you run your own business, there becomes a point where you think, okay, how do I scale? How do I expand? And a very popular option for that, depending on what you do, what service you provide, is to hire somebody else. And if you hire somebody else, that's an expense. And you need to justify, okay, if I hire somebody else to help me scale, right, to alleviate some of my time or to add basically more hours into the hours that we're able to provide a service, I have to pay that person. How much value are they producing? And I remember, I think, hearing it somewhere and then, just kind of thinking about it long and hard. It's like, well, if that person's not producing a 50 to 60% compound annual growth rate, you're wasting your money. You may as well just hold Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is like a little employee that's working all the time for you. You don't have to do anything. You just have to hold it. Right.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of struck me as similar to what you were just saying, is having hash rate heating is like having an employee. It's working for you at all times,
100%.
Stacking Bitcoin plus capital appreciation, and you didn't have to do shit.
Yeah.
Once it's installed, once you've paid for it.
And you don't have to pay that employee because you're already paying that employee. If you're heating your house, you're already paying that employee. So you just have to alter the employee from a natural gas furnace to a Bitcoin miner, or a baseboard heater to a Bitcoin miner. And now that is a productive employee instead of one that just takes. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So just a little comparison, a little parallel that struck my mind when you were saying that is just, it's paying you for something you already need. And so, capital appreciation is going to be massive, and you don't even factor that in when you're telling this to people. So I think that's the fair and honest way to do it, obviously, because nothing is guaranteed, right? But
that's right.
Provided that it follows the pattern that it has been following, I mean, just massive upside potential there. So that's cool.
Yeah, and an interesting case study that really galvanized my thought in this space was what happened in 21 with China. When China banned mining, price got cut in half, and so did hash rate. So whatever miners were left on the network, aka us, people who are heating, they didn't see their profit margin didn't change. They were making twice as much Bitcoin, but the Bitcoin was worth half as much. So to them, it was an amazing opportunity to stack. Like, to me, it was like, it sucks that the price crashed. I watched my stack get cut in half, but today I'm making twice as much Bitcoin as I did yesterday. So it's one of these things where it all kind of translates into like low time preference. And I love that, man. That whole low time preference ethos is like how to get off the hamster wheel. And I think that is such a great goal for people. Just get off that high time. It's a disease of bad money, and that's how high time preference comes about. And then we could talk about that probably for an entire podcast. But I think this is a good mechanism to avoid that high time preference kind of mentality.
Well, I love that side of you as well, man, because, we can go super technical and geek out about, the builds, but you also are somebody that understands what to me is being a true Bitcoiner, is these different ethos that are built into Bitcoin that you come to embody as a Bitcoiner if you study this stuff long enough, right? And So it's cool hearing you kind of riff on that stuff too at times, and we can definitely do like a part three about all that kind of like away from like the builds and just
Yeah.
the belief systems and the different principles that we come to embody and inherit through our time in Bitcoin. But that's definitely one of them, and
Yeah.
it's probably the most important one of the most important ones is those time preferences, right? It really is valuable, and I think why people get so wound up and passionate about it once they discover it is because we realize, yeah, the system is so broken and we're on this hedonic treadmill that we just have to like keep running just to stay afloat.
Hmm.
And once you discover Bitcoin and now like past that, heating your home with Bitcoin miners, it's like that is a potential out of that rat race of that hamster wheel, and that frees you up to focus on R&D and building stuff you're passionate about, and basically, fix the money, fix the world is the saying that we have in Bitcoin. But also, I can see so much more being added on to that kind of a mentality through hash rate heating and the stuff that you're building.
You hit the nail on the head, and I think you said something that just triggered something in my brain. I talk a lot about the how. I don't usually get into the why. I mean, I dipped a toe during our conversation today, but I think it could be expanded on meaningfully in a future conversation between us because, you know, I really tried a lot of different stuff before I landed on, before I kind of decided this is what I want to do with my time, the majority of my work. If I'm not with the family, this is what I want to do. And uh, it was just because I exhausted so many other avenues of trading and bonds and stocks and gold and real estate. And like I went down all these roads. I invested heavily in a lot of these assets, and nothing has been as fruitful as investing my time in heat reuse. Like that has been a life-changing thing for me, not just because it's my day job, but because of the benefits it brings. So, you know, I love, the whole stacking sats mantra is I think people are sleeping on that. That's the goal, man. Like anything you can do to slowly, quietly increase your stack with KYC free sats, do it. This is financial advice. No, this is not financial advice, but personally, this is what has benefited my family and my life. A disproportionate amount. I didn't realize that it was going to be this beneficial when I engaged in it. I thought it was just another financial activity, but it's so interdisciplinary that it scratches a whole bunch of very different itches that I have. I've got like a kind of autodidactic, interdisciplinary kind of approach to a lot of things. Even my degree is in industrial design, which is it was an interdisciplinary degree where you were collaborating with engineers, scientists, garment manufacturers. So you got to deal with a whole bunch of different people. And I think that the heat reuse thing is by nature a very interdisciplinary thing. You have to know mechanical, computer science, electrical, finance. It just touches on many of these things that I've kind of accumulated throughout the years. So I don't feel like I'm throwing any one of those subjects away because, as I pick them up over the years, I can integrate all that knowledge, or I can leverage that knowledge to make an even more kick-ass heater or a better product or service, or make it easier or faster or whatever it is. I think it all kind of translates to the 256 heat core business.
Yeah, that's one of the most unique things about Bitcoin is just the different areas. Like you could just be obsessed with mining, you could be obsessed with the security and the privacy. You can be obsessed
Wallets.
with wallets, nodes, number go up if that's your thing. Like
Yeah.
so many
Some
different
people
things.
are stuck on the number go up part.
Yeah, but I think like the longer that we go forward and the more exciting things that come out of these other areas, the more people get past that.
Yeah.
It takes some time because like you said it there, like you didn't really realize when you started all of this stuff, whether it was stacking sats or the heat reuse stuff, even like how much of a profound impact it would have on your time preferences, on your family, on your, this is the big one for me, quality of life.
Totally.
Right.
Yeah.
We have one life that we know of, despite people's various religions and what they think of the next life, or if this is what we know for sure is we have this one life.
Mm-hmm.
And Bitcoin is the only thing that I've ever found, not just in like practical terms, but in more like abstract terms and philosophical terms, that actually enhances your quality of life. And it just
Totally.
takes time to realize that that's what's happening, right? You can run yourself ragged, financial independence, retire early. Let me skip the avocado toast, let me not get the Starbucks and all these other things. Or you can absolutely, bog your life down with managing real estate and bad tenants and all these other things because you think it's going to get you ahead, but you're still playing fiat games. You're still playing TradFi type games. And then you come to Bitcoin and you're just like, all I have to do is alter my time preferences and I'm free to go and enjoy life and build things I'm passionate about, like what you're doing with 256 Heat. And it's a revelation.
Yeah, it's funny when your heat bill is destroying the top hedge funds, right? It's like, wait, what? Like my heat bill has turned into the best performing asset in my family's history. This is weird. This is a
Yeah.
weird idea.
It doesn't sound
funny.
possible.
I just explained it to my neighbor the other day. She was like, I don't think I'm long for this world. She was like, this is so above and beyond me. And I'm like, yeah, it takes a bit of research, but the benefits there. And I'm busy orange pilling like 75-year-old female boomers because again, like you don't have to believe in Bitcoin. All you have to do is want money for heat. And because you can exchange Bitcoin for whatever crap local currency you use to buy goods and services in your neighborhood, it's money good. That's the proof, man. That's the proof in the pudding. It's good money, and it's not just good money. It's the only market that I know. It's got deep liquidity, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all around the world. So if you're acquiring not just the equivalent value, but like the best, most pristine asset in exchange for your heating bill, man, it still makes me go, what? Like, what timeline is this? Like, how does this work so well? Like,
We're living in the future, baby. We're living in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's then the other thing, just to put a bow on that is like right now you might exchange that for whatever shitty fiat currency that you value if you don't value Bitcoin. But in the future, as things develop with Bitcoin circular economies, you're going to be getting those sats that you can, that are going right to your Lightning wallet to self custody. And then you can go and buy whatever you need directly with that Bitcoin. And you can support others with that Bitcoin that you earned. You're turning energy into the hardest money mankind has ever known. And then you're free to orange pill people or spend it with people that are already orange pilled for the things that you need. And it's just an unstoppable force, and we're just starting. And that's what gives me kind of chills. It's like we figured something out here with all these different parts of this movement that is, I think, living 20, 30 years into the future already.
Totally.
And so I'm so excited for what's going to come. And we have things like Proto that just came out. And that what is that going to do? This modularity, this ability to have a longer lifespan on our hardware, right?
Mm-hmm.
To like interchange the components as we go. When that makes its way into a more developed supply chain, I think that's going to be extremely bullish.
Yeah.
And so like the possibilities, like I said, we're just starting to stand on the cusp of what's possible. And so, next 10, 20 years is going to be extremely exciting.
Yeah. Last time I was on, I think we talked a little bit about the circular economy thing. And again, this is not financial advice, but like the incentives there, I just keep finding new ones. And the taxation implications are huge. Not saying do this, but if you wanted to, you could essentially in Canada sidestep 50% tax, right? Because you could sidestep income tax because if you're acquiring that Bitcoin with heating, you're exchanging a heating bill for income. So this is non-KYC. So this is undisclosed income.
And you've gotten that from a tax professional?
No. This is just like if you wanted to go this route, you could do it. So yes, I did get it from a tax professional, but the rules change all the time. This was a couple of years ago. The way she was explaining it to me was CRA in Canada is really only interested in when you dispose of the assets for Canadian dollars. Now, if you acquire Bitcoin, let's say someone gives it to you and you buy something with that Bitcoin, that is outside, not as only outside the purview, it's outside really the interest of the Canadian regulation authority. So if you just add it all up, about 40% income tax on average here, 13% sales tax. So you're really, if the price of Bitcoin goes nowhere, you're saving 50% of your money.
If the price goes nowhere, that's insane.
Yeah, if the price goes nowhere, because you're sidestepping what I feel like is a ridiculous taxation regime here in Canada. And it's one of the main, it's probably the biggest oppressor of people globally, just how insane taxation has become. And if you look at like how much money is printed every year, it's like, why are we even being forced to pay taxes? This is such a small percentage of where government's revenue comes from. So anyway, it makes you kind of look at that differently. And if you can create a circular economy where everyone's got some sats kicking around in like a pocket change wallet, and if they've been mining for a longer time, then yeah, maybe they got some some Bitcoin stored in a hardware wallet or something like that. But if a whole community does this and everyone in the community kind of serves a purpose, you got an electrician, you got plumbers, now you can have a community sidestep those, let's call them expenses, and you can raise a community up. If they're paying 50% less for their income, and 50% less meaning like they're saving half of their money by not operating within a taxation regime, do it. Like, this is for the benefit of your family. Like, these circular economies need to happen, and the only currency it makes sense to run on is Bitcoin. You can't do it with gold. You can't do it with some shitcoin, because you have to be able to.
Wait, man, are you promoting people actually having a shot at quality of life?
How dare I?
This is some extremist talk I'm hearing right here.
Cue the emails from the World Economic Forum, right?
Yes, Klaus Schwab is he's coming down the road right now, and
I can see his coat. Yeah, I can see. Yeah.
Yeah, that's some extremist talk right there. God forbid you have a quality of life for all the economic energy and labor and time spent, stacking money that they can print. Fuck, that is very, very, very dangerous thinking.
And I might not even have that opinion if I was getting something for my taxes, right? Like, if I was getting a high level of education, or a medical system that functioned, or roads
that'd be nice.
Have, elbow deep potholes all over them. That'd be nice. But that's not happening here. And if anything, the last 10 years, I've seen the quality slide while the cost goes up. So it's a double whammy in living. I mean, it really boils down to cost, or your quality of life. So the quality of life suffers that much. Some frogs will jump out of the pot before it's boiling. Hopefully, the water doesn't boil too slowly. I think the whole accelerationist concept is a good one, because it kind of jolts people awake, and then there's necessity there, and then there's innovation that has to happen, or else, if you're comfortable, you're not going to innovate. And I think, Canadians in general have been extremely comfortable. And I think governments are taking advantage of that fact.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it all throughout human history. It's like when you get pushed a little bit too far, then you become rebellious. Then you become then you start to look for ways out or alternative avenues, right? Whether that's second passport, that's moving somewhere else. I mean, which is not feasible for a large majority of people. So, comforted to death is sort of what they're doing, right? They make it just enough. Like, there's food at the grocery store, and yes, it's overpriced, and it's going up like 10, 20, 30% a year. Like, just look at beef. But you're just gonna have to reduce the amount of beef you eat. I mean, and then everything will be fine, right? So you're comfortable. You don't say anything. You don't look for a way out, right? But you're struggling, right? You don't get to spend as much time with your family, with your loved ones, doing the things that you wanted, like enjoying your time on Earth. And so, you just kind of live this like quiet discomfort, and like you hear people whining about it all the time to each other, but like, that's just the way it is, they say, and it's like, well, maybe it doesn't need to be that way. And so things like what we're talking about here today, things that you shared with us, really do provide like this peer-to-peer revolution, this way of exchange, that really only Bitcoin can provide, right? Like you said, we're not going to go and provide gold bars and like shave off bits of gold.
Shaving it.
Yeah, exactly. Not going to happen. So Bitcoin is our best shot. It's a revolutionary monetary technology
Mhm.
And, if you go and you can pay the butcher and they'll accept Bitcoin, not only are you getting a good value exchange, they're going to be able to stay in business longer. And, by cutting out that potential middleman, right? So
That's right.
it's,
The
yeah,
middleman
it's
that
very
adds no
exciting.
value.
Yeah, it's just like when you process like these wire transfers or something and they're like, "Whoa, we'll take 10, 20, 30, 40%." Wow. For doing what? For nothing. And so, the fact that this is
Monopoly.
permissionless and borderless and you can send 10 cents to, hundreds of thousands of dollars from Canada to Zimbabwe with the click of a button and
Yeah.
nobody's taking a cut. There's this small, small, small transfer fee. Um, that's incredible. Really, really
Yeah.
is incredible when you think about what you get for your fees, like the extortion fee that you pay when you do like a Western Union or something like that. So, and
Yeah.
not to mention how abundant energy is. To tie this all back into the heat punk stuff, it's like
Mhm.
energy is so abundant. It's the most abundant thing in the universe. They set the price, and they set the price to benefit themselves as a business. Like they're not doing you any favors, right?
Yeah.
So if you can make money from heating, something that you need to pay for anyways, why would you not be doing that? It really
Yeah.
doesn't. It can't be much more clear than that.
And there's all these synergies with like the carbon tax and things like that. Um, it's they're incentivizing it. It's like they're not just incentivizing Bitcoining. They're incentivizing hash rate heating. They're incentivizing alternative methods for acquiring assets and alternative assets. Like it's the boiling frog thing. The harder they squeeze, the more people who are paying attention are going to jump, and uh, there's going to be some success stories out of those frogs that make it, and people are going to follow. And there's so many instances of that on Twitter or X. That I think, yeah, people who are paying attention are seeing it, and they're escaping that uh, rat race or that treadmill that we're, every year it goes up one notch in speed. So you have to work twice as hard, or whatever percentage as hard, just to be in the same place. And that was the feeling I was getting. And it was really galvanized like during the trucker protests in Canada here, but. When you see that they printed something like 25% of the M2 of the currency floating around chasing goods in the course of like a year and a half or 2 years, you're like, oh, we
Craziness.
need to do something about that. Yeah. Action
And
has
your
to.
life got worse for it, not better. So like there's infinite abundance of money because they can just print it, but your life got worse. You
Yeah.
had to
Well,
work
luckily
more
my life got
time.
better because I acted, but like if I didn't act,
Yes.
it would be significantly worse, right? People think
Yes.
their house is appreciating in value. What a joke. It's not. The property tax went up, the annual maintenance, so the annual maintenance goes up, the electricity, the gas, the water, everything goes up. So, you know, they think, oh, I'll just sell my house. Bought it and for 400,000, I'll sell for 2 million in 5 years. But that $2 million probably gets you less than that 400,000, 10 years ago or 20 years ago. So it's like this, if people, if people could feel that 2 or 3%, even while in Canada, it's probably closer to 8 to 10% annual inflation. If they could actually perceive that, if it's palpable, there'd be a lot more people acting and doing these kinds of things like alternative heating methods like hash rate heating, or even just converting a percentage of their income every month to Bitcoin, which a lot of astute Bitcoiners are. But again, it's like 1% of the world is I would call them actual Bitcoiners, and
It's
we're
crazy to
early,
think about.
just early.
Crazy to think about. Yeah, this thing is, 15 odd years old and we're at like 1 to 2% adoption conservatively, right? And
Yeah.
people do want the solution, but they just don't know. It's just like so many people are, like you were pointing out, just kind of ignorant about the real cost of inflation, the real percentage. Like, you're told a percent, but we know it's much higher. Um, and what that does to their life. Like they know life is getting harder, but they don't really know why or how or what to do about it because so
Mm-hmm.
few people understand economics,
Yeah.
right? Just basic. Like they haven't spent any time because they're busy working and then they have their family. So like they haven't taken that step. And then you hear it a lot. Like when you talk to Bitcoiners, it's like, well, I read Creature from Jekyll Island and I learned about the Fed and I learned about, the IMF and I learned all these different things that was like, oh, okay, the lights are on now. And then things change very quickly for them and change very quickly for their life and it gets a lot better a lot quicker. But for the average person, like they're just trying to survive. the things that they know that they're struggling with, just trying to get by.
Yeah, man. And like going back to the inflation thing, I was talking to my father about this, and he was like, inflation's back at like 3%. I was like, yeah, is it? Um, it is if you buy flat screen TVs every year and you eat Campbell's soup. But like if you have a home, if you drive a car, if you have kids in school, everyone has a different inflation basket. So you got to calculate what your hurdle rate is. And, most people, let's call them middle class. Most people are like between 15 and 20% annual increase in budget or the necessity. They need to increase that budget by that much every year. Um, so that's your hurdle rate. Once you know your hurdle rate, then you can create a plan on how to beat it so that you're not losing money or having to work twice as hard or long
Yeah.
every subsequent year. So,
Well, your wage is never going up 15 to 20% a year. That's a guarantee, right? Never, right? You're lucky if you get that over the course of, a large part of your career.
yeah. Or if you work in government,
Yeah, that then it might happen.
they'll
Yeah,
get their
exactly.
20% every couple of years for sure.
Less work, more money. Yeah, but yeah, it's very true. So like the average person just can't escape, and it's very sad. But man, I really love getting to talk to you in this way. The builds and everything, fascinating and amazing. But I really value your thoughts and your perspectives on this because I think we're very much aligned. And yeah, it's really enjoyable to talk with somebody that really gets it in the same way. And
Appreciate it,
yeah,
man. Likewise.
great spirit. Yeah, look forward to having a long chat one day, whether it's over here or over there where you're at by the campfire, fire up some steaks, and just talk about the government.
That would be fun, man. Yeah, if you're ever back in town, I know you're not too far from where I'm at, so give me a holler.
Oh yeah, if I'm back in town, when I do eventually go back for a little visit, I will definitely be contacting you and hooking up with you for sure. We'll have a great time.
Nice, man. Well, hey,
Awesome.
if you have plans to come back in a hurry, having a little birthday thing at the cabin this weekend. So I know it's probably a little far from where you're at there in the Caribbean, but
I'll just jump on my private plane and I'll be right over.
Perfect. Yeah, there you go. I'll clear a runway for you.
Perfect. Happy birthday in advance, man. I hope
Thanks,
this is the best year ahead for you. I'm sure it will be, given all the great work that you've been doing.
Appreciate that.
Over the next year, it's going to be insane to watch all the things that you build out. If is there anything that you want to leave the audience with? Any takeaways? Maybe about getting started with heat reuse or anything like that, or just Bitcoin in general.
Yeah, I'll bring it back to the business. If you're interested, or if you think you have a case for heat reuse, and I give my time for free to do heat audits and to understand what the requirements are. So I'd be happy to explain and quote you on a system and see if it's right for you. I can tell you right now that like Manitoba, Quebec, BC, Ontario, we have the climate and the electricity prices to justify this kind of system for most uses. In the U.S., it varies state to state. But yeah, I find more often than not, it does make sense to dabble. And again, you can dip a toe and get one of these plug and play space heaters, or you can go all out and convert the whole home to hash rate heating and rely primarily on that, and only use your natural gas if there's no internet or if there's expensive power and you want to curtail on purpose. So yeah, reach out to me, 256heat.com. There's a contact us page, and yeah, happy to just chat and see if it's right for you.
And with your designs, the ability to kind of shift up and down, I think it's amazing to have more uptime, because more uptime means more payouts, more sats that you are mining.
Quieter.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You can bring the noise levels down, the fan speeds down, the energy usage, but keep it on and still be mining. So I think just that ability to be flexible with your systems is it's like a really good selling point. So yeah, definitely, guys. If you are listening to this and you're in Canada, you got to hit up Toine and see what he can do for you and your setup and your needs. Hopefully, this episode has shown you just how creative these systems have gotten and like what's possible out there. I know I'm definitely looking at getting one set up in my house back home, and definitely will be hiring Toine to do that when the time comes because, as you can tell from everything he shared, the love, the passion, the excitement, creativity, it's all there, and really you couldn't ask for a better person to do this. So can't say enough great things about Toine and all the things that he's built, and just the alignment that he has in his heart for the ethos of Bitcoin and yeah, pushing everything forward. So high praise for you always, man. Thanks so much for taking the time to join us today. And we'll definitely have you back for another episode over time, many more episodes, because these are some of my favorite conversations. Guys, be sure to share this episode out, follow the podcast, share this with a heat punk or even a skeptic who might benefit from having Bitcoin mining heat reuse in their life. And we'll see you on the next episode of the Home Mining Podcast.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.